Hey everybody, Green X here. Today, we're finally gonna do it. We're going to finally talk about Fallout New Vegas. The DLC. That's right, we're not talking about the base game, because I hate it. Fallout Shelter's better. No, instead, we're going to be talking about something entirely different. Ladies, gentlemen, others, today, we're going to be talking about Dead Money. The first of the 4 major expansions for New Vegas, and probably the most divisive one to come out. Mostly attributed to its instability, numerous bugs, glitches, and above all, crushing difficulty, according to the forums at least. A lot of people didn't like this expansion. It was very artistically driven, but that's all it had going for it, apparently. The gameplay sucked, the mechanics were frustrating, the exploration was restricted and linear. To a lot of people, Dead Money basically went against everything that Fallout's traditional game design stood for. Despite this though, the DLC still sold like hotcakes. People were itching for more of anything Fallout related, and Obsidian was on a mean streak to deliver. Dead Money would be the introduction to a brand new storyline that would be vaguely told across different expansions, until finally being concluded with The Lonesome Road. But without jumping the gun too hard, I do believe that this DLC in particular has something very special to offer. It is very atmospheric, unforgiving, gloomy, and above all, it is uncompromising. Sometimes, to its detriment. Dead Money was just a huge risk altogether, and is definitely a point of contention for many in the Caucasian community. Because we both know, when it comes to real-world politics, these guys don't know a damn thing. But mention anything about the doctrine of Caesar's Legion, oh my god. But regardless of your personal feelings and opinions on Dead Money, I hope you're willing to sit down with me and listen to me yell about a DLC that I spent a little too much time replaying. So, without any further ado, dim the lights, brighten the stage, leave all your worries at the door, and let us begin. Again.
You've heard of the Sierra Madre Casino. We all have. The legend, the curses, foolishness about it lying in the middle of the city of the dead, buried beneath a blood-red cloud, a bright, shining monument luring treasure hunters to their doom. The world's most famous stars and entertainers were invited to its grand opening. An invitation was a sign of exclusiveness. The opening was supposed to symbolize a road to a brighter future, not just for the world, but for all who came to its doors. A chance for anyone to begin again. Except the Sierra Madre never opened. The war froze it in time, like a big flashbulb going off. The grand opening, one big ending of humanity. It's still out there, in the wastes, preserved, just waiting for someone to crack it open. But getting to it, that's not the hard part. It's letting go.
We wake to a blinding blue light from a damaged pre-war hologram, and above it, a busted old man yelling at us.
Are you listening?
No, not really. This guy has a tendency to talk a lot, so let me shorten it all for the, special ones. Basically, this guy is trying to pull off a heist for the centuries. The Sierra Madre. You've heard of it, I've heard of it. Contrary to popular belief, it is still standing, and it is a shithole. But this guy wants in it, and he's going to use us to pull it off. And by us, I don't mean me and you, I mean our character, plus others. We're not alone. He's going to use all of us to help him break into the Sierra Madre Casino, whether we like it or not. And he's going to ensure compliance through these explosive collars. Very charming, I know, I use it on all my dates. The other captives aren't here though, so he wants us to go and get them. Gotta be honest, I don't really give a shit, but wait, there's more. You guys are gonna love this one. These collars are linked. If one of the other captives die, you die. It truly is amazing how a single sentence can have so much impact on your personal goals. All of a sudden, I feel a wave of compassion wash over my face, like a waterboarding. The collar situation sucks, but it isn't without proper cause. He's failed the heist attempt multiple times due to poor team coordination, so he decided to link the collars together for more consistent results. His reasoning for this is because he already tried the nice guy approach, but every time he got a good squad together for the heist, they would always end up killing each other, mostly because of paranoia and also the very common fear of splitting the loot, selfish bastards. So while I may bitch, I actually understand. I would probably do the same thing. Also, yes, this is one of the main reasons why people hate dead money. Good job. People endlessly complain about this mechanic, and if you're one of them, then, psst, hey, I got a secret to tell you. Come here. Yeah, that's right. Come on. Closer. Yeah, fuck you. Listen, buddy, Daddy gave you a necklace, and you're gonna be thankful. It's not like you have a choice. Alright, let's get the show on the road. Meet our protagonist, by the way. He's gonna be steering the wheel to this incredibly dense storyline, and possibly crashing it into a stone wall. I spent many hours bone sculpting him with claw hammers while combing through looks maxing videos, and yeah, this is what I came up with. His name is kNVSE. Whoever smirked just now, you're going to hell. This is someone who can make the hard, sometimes not entirely sensible decisions. So, all things considered, he's perfect for this type of environment, which is as beautiful as it is suffocating. Walking around the Sierra Madre's villa is a very unique experience. It's almost, dare I say, enjoyable. Listening to the haunting ambience, observing the landmarks, taking a look inside the gift shops and seeing remnants of the past scattered across the walls and the floors. To be fair though, most of what you can see here is rotten and destroyed. A lot of the times you won't really have much to look at, but you'll occasionally stumble onto a few interesting sites where you can get a good view of the villa as a whole and the jewel that sits behind it. In these briefest of moments, you can almost catch faint little flashes of what the Sierra Madre used to be in its prime. Some places will be completely destroyed, while others will be perfectly preserved with their interiors left basically untouched since the Great War. It creates this really strange feeling. Not a negative one, nor positive by any means, just absent. Everything feels absent. California met a loud and destructive end when the bombs fell. Everything was wiped out. DC was ripped to shreds. Most of the states suffered a total scorched earth, leaving them unrecognizable. But the Sierra Madre simply froze in place. It makes exploring it feel very somber, in a sense. It's the same feeling you get when you explore an abandoned mall or an empty warehouse. It's very lucid. Fallout hasn't felt this way in a very long time. So, you better savor it. Take a deep breath of that thick, plentiful air. We're gonna be here for a bit. And through the whispering streets of the villa, we encounter the main enemy of dead money.
Watch out for the villa inhabitants. They're difficult to kill unless you chop them apart. If you can, blow them up or disintegrate.
These ghost people are locals of the Sierra Madre, victim to extensive exposure to the cloud, a corrosive red substance that decays anything it touches. Which of course means you can't be outside all the time, or else your health is gonna drain. It gives you a small sense of urgency, since you can't just wait outside for 24 hours whenever you feel like it. It actually puts a pretty big importance on the idea of finding shelter for once. This is doubly true if you're playing on survival mode. You'll even find these smaller pockets of cloud that do way more damage, and they're everywhere. The cloud is extremely harmful, but strangely enough, it might actually be the main reason for why the Sierra Madre stayed up for as long as it has. It can decay, but maybe, in a sense, it can also purify. It can also piss you off, so there's that. These ghosts are a real pain in the ass to kill thanks to the cloud. You'll be avoiding a lot of fights just to conserve the small number of resources you do have. This, combined with the whole cloud mechanic, makes the experience feel a lot more intense. It adds this extra layer of desperation to everything you do, almost bordering on survival horror. Yeah. Never thought I'd be saying that about Fallout, but here we are. We'll touch on more of the ghosts later, but for now, I'll leave you with this one tip. Go for the limbs. Alright, first stop is up west, where we'll find Caller 8, who apparently is a super mutant. Oh man, how do you even fit a collar on that? I guess we'll see.
I'll be good this time. I promise, Master. Just keep him away.
Entering the police station, we find our first major character, a Nightkin.
So hungry.
Oh no. As if normal super mutants weren't mentally unstable enough, now you gotta babysit a Nightkin. I cannot wait to see how this ends. Big guy over here ain't really in the mood for talking, so I guess that gives us a chance to observe our surroundings and see what we can cook up. Aside from some hidden stashes and resources that you can put to use, you also have these terminals that reveal a lot about the Madre's backstory. I'm usually not a big fan of this type of stuff when it comes to Fallout, but Dead Money has some genuinely interesting lore stuffed inside these entries. Like this prohibition list, which when read into further, explains why we start the DLC with none of our equipment with us. Not the clearest explanation, but, well, it's something. It's also in these terminal entries that we're introduced to Frederick Sinclair, the founder of the Sierra Madre. This guy is pretty interesting. Near the end of the 2070s, he was becoming more well known for his failed business ventures rather than his actual good dealings or charming personality. But he had one more ace in the hole, the Sierra Madre. And upon its conception, Sinclair would have famous actors and musicians star at its grand opening, such as Dean Domino and Viera Keys, which is the woman you see on the hologram. Now, if you're like me and ever wondered why the villa looks more like Michigan rather than the beauty standing above it, there is a reason for that. You see, Sinclair only ever cared about the Sierra Madre Casino, whereas the villa he just decided to outsource to a man named Mr. Yesterday. Hell of a name, I know. Remember it. The villa was important, but the casino was his end goal, and that's pretty much where all of his focus went. That's not to say Sinclair didn't play a heavy hand in developing external security. Referring back to that long list of prohibited items, it was all proven to be very overwhelming for the chief of security to keep track of. So, in response, Sinclair had an automated confiscation system built in for any irradiated or illegal items, such as weapons, armor, and chems. This news made the chief a little, nervous. Just off the terminal entries alone, you could deduce that half the villa crew were hopped up on some sort of drug. Something that this Mr. Yesterday guy was aware of, and was supposedly supplying them. And I doubt it was out of the goodness of his own heart. So, right off the bat, we already know that there was some corruption in the mix during the Madre's infancy. Kinda gives you a greater context on why the villa looks the way it does, in comparison to the Madre Casino, which stands cold and untouched.
You would come below the cage, down to where I am. The one in the cage? Dog. I had to lock him up. He keeps disobeying me.
We explore the basement downstairs and pick up a holotape that contains the voice of the super mutant's alter ego, which when played will allow us to communicate with him. And to mirror this, it will change his name from Dog to God. He goes from dog to God. I mean, come on. That's so on the nose I had to get a dorsal hump reduction.
You weren't who I was expecting. I'm disappointed.
Seems we have a split personality thing going on. A severe case. Doc Henry would have a stroke trying to diagnose this, and he already gets him twice a week. It's revealed in our conversation with God that the man who is responsible for our capture and the heist he put us on is Elijah. Which, if you're well versed in Brotherhood lore, and most of you probably are by the time you start this DLC, you'd most likely know that Elijah was the previous elder of the Mojave chapter. A lot of what God says does come across as nonsensical ramblings, like his mythological references, but you can actually interpret a lot of what he's saying very literally.
Running out of years, hopes and dreams running through his withered hands like sand from the big empty, and scorched by the sun.
He's not just talking about the sun. He's making reference towards an actual place and an event. As you guys know, the Brotherhood are only concerned with preserving technology, but Elijah, he aimed higher. He wanted to improve upon existing tech. He wanted it to be utilized and pushed to their furthest limits. The Brotherhood did not agree. So, in an effort to drive Elijah and his radical ideas away, they sent his bum-ass chapter to the Mojave. The official objective for the records was to secure Hoover Dam, but something tells me that they didn't actually believe that was going to happen, especially since the NCR already secured it by the time they got there. As far as I'm concerned, they just wanted Elijah's schizobabble out of their hair. But in their journey, they would uncover something very interesting. A solar power plant called Helios 1. The rest of the Paladins didn't really see it as too big of a deal. It was impressive, sure, but it was just like any other piece of tech. It needed to be secured and contained, you know, the usual procedure. But for Elder Elijah, it was different. When he gazed upon the endless potential of Helios 1, something within him snapped. Elijah was obsessed with Helios 1. The Brotherhood saw another piece of technology, but in his eyes, he saw nothing but the heights of his own ambitions, and he would stop at nothing to see them soar.
Elijah wanted to bring the sun down to him. Arrogance.
Even the Nightkin thinks he's crazy. That's how you know this shit's twisted. Long story short, this would lead to a brutal conflict with the NCR that would wipe out about half of the chapter, with Elijah vanishing into the wastes, where he was never seen again. Until now. And now he's your boss. Oh, great. Fantastic. Dog, the other personality, is the one that dragged us all the way here on Elijah's orders. His whole cage situation seems to be the result of a mental breakdown of sorts due to hunger. Not abnormal for these types of mutants, they're pretty unpredictable. Nightkin are like the Malkavians of Fallout. And for anyone who isn't a fucking nerd, Nightkin are like the Albanians of Fallout. Usually you wouldn't have to worry too much since mutants are numbskulls. Not today. God may be a little crazy, but he is by no means dumb. In fact, he is incredibly smart, maybe more so than the average courier, and for a Nightkin, that is kind of terrifying. God is brutal and controlling, but he ultimately wants what's best for Dog, which is why he's so confrontational with our adventurer, since he believes we're there to take advantage of him. Which he isn't necessarily wrong about. In fact, he's 100% correct. We're going to use him to the bitter end. However, God isn't willing to budge on handing him over. In such a situation, this requires a bit of Robco grease, because we have a holotape of our own. This right here contains a log of Elijah's voice from when we first met him. This will draw Dog out of his inner cage for whatever reason, and out to where we can actually talk to him, and most importantly, manipulate him. It also, conveniently, quiets the much more disagreeable God, who is prone to violent outbursts, which makes it hard to communicate effectively. So, when he gets out of line, play that audio log.
I'll murder you.
See, there he goes. Whip it out.
No, don't. I'll make you...
Shut up, nigga. Biden blast.
Master, the dog not hear you come in.
Much better. Let's go get you some food, big guy. Alright, one caller down. In Dog's stomach. 2 to go. Next up is caller 12. Didn't get much information on this one, so should be interesting. Let's see how good the Madre's healthcare is holding up.
Picking up an emitter signature. Watch for security holograms. Dangerous. Don't shoot them. Attacking them is useless.
The answer is not very good. Let me introduce you guys to the holograms. We all have that one thing we hate about Dead Money, and I'm gonna be honest, this might be it for me. It's not even hard or difficult or anything like that. It just pisses me off, especially near the end, but we'll get to that. Here, though, it's pretty easy. Just disable their emitter if you have the repair skill for it, and if not, run. They can't open doors, or at least I think they can. He won't blow his gun. He's not going to blow his gun. Oh, shit! Some interesting tidbits from the terminals include things like the origin of the Ghost People's gas suits, which were in pretty limited supply and barely protected the users from the cloud when it was first appearing through ventilation systems. You also got the case with Vera Keys, who seemed to be struggling with her voice, seeming to be an infection of some sorts. Turns out it wasn't that, it was just listlessness, which basically meant she was torporific and lethargic all the time, which would affect her performance when it came time to sing her songs. This, in the Fallout world, is a very common sign of excessive Med-X usage. The natural reaction would be to give Viera the proper treatment she deserves, but Dean Domino, the man accompanying and seemingly speaking in her place, basically said, nah man, just give her more Med-X. Fuck it, give her all the Med-X. Because, you know, that makes sense. I don't know about you guys, but this Dean Domino sounds like a real legend to me. After a bit of looking, it seems we found our girl. She's stuck in an auto dock, which she seems to be having a great time in. Banging on the steel and all. I feel bad letting her out of that thing. It's probably the best experience you could have in this place. Let's see, limited stock of unaffordable medical supplies and unstable machines that torture you to death instead of healing you. I can't tell if this is American healthcare or Canadian healthcare. Ha, I get it now. The best of both worlds. God bless the Madre. Holy shit. I can see my reflection on that cannonball. Turns out, the auto dock really mucked up our gal. She can't talk, some parts of her brain have been damaged, she's bald, which is by choice, I think. Nice. Put a plunger on that, you know? And she has to communicate with hand gestures. Combine that with her dead stare and her brand new medical scars, and it makes her look absolutely fucking terrifying. Fellas, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm in love. However, something tells me that that feeling isn't going to be mutual. Who stuck her in there? Not sure. Probably Elijah, if I had to guess. Christine seems to agree with this one too, since it's revealed later on that she was sent out on a mission to assassinate Elijah, so I guess he decided to pull a little prank on her. His version of a love tap. Kinda like a really dangerous game of tag, you're it, now you got mild brain damage, and dyslexia. How many fingers am I holding up? Oh, Christine. We're gonna get along like the Greeks and the Turks. Alright, let's get her out of here. Every companion has a unique ability that can prove pretty useful in the Madre. This time around, with Christine, her gimmick is that she can disrupt frequencies, or as I like to call them, dead signals. Another ingenious mechanic in Dead Money that everyone seems to hate. These are basically radios or speakers that blast harsh frequencies that make your head implode, and if you don't book it within 10 seconds, you'll meet the consequences of your actions. Which was playing this DLC. Some signals you have to turn off manually, some of them you have to destroy, some of them you have to hack and turn off via a terminal. This makes it a little tricky when you have groups of ghosts chewing your ass like jerky. It also doesn't help that there's a trap you can step on every 2 seconds of brisk jogging, so running ahead to get away from the static can be a quick death in itself. All of these factors combined results in the player having a very realistic panic attack, and causes them to go and bitch on the forums. A very common issue. Not all radios are bad though, some of them can even lead you to interesting landmarks, like this one, which happens to be sitting next to a ghoul in a chair.
Have a seat. Came all this way, least I can do is let you rest your feet for a second.
I see the setup, but I'm waiting for the punchline. Turns out, this is Dean Domino. That's right, he survived the war. If you call that surviving, anyway. Hey man, it's cool. Ghouls, they exist. And that's a lot nicer than what others would say.
Don't get up or make any sudden motions, no matter how uncomfortable that chair gets. The cushion's just for show.
Ah, there it is. Domino is quite the charismaniac. I can see why God had left him down here on Earth. He leaves his special soldiers behind. Yeah, I'm gonna drop it. This guy's a dick. He's extremely condescending, full of himself, probably an alcoholic. You know, like every musician. Except this one has an oft himself. Well, you can't win them all. Dean does have an undeniable charm to him, though. I'd be lying if I said I didn't smile at some of his lines.
All right. Looks like marriage finally caught me.
Something about Dean just kinda irks me, though. I can't put my finger on it. I'd rather put my hand on it, around his neck specifically. As for his motives, they're kinda unclear. He seems to have a pretty big interest on the Madre's casino, but I mean, who doesn't at this point? I guess we'll find out later on. Or maybe we won't. I don't really give a shit. I'm sorry. I just can't help it. Listen, I'm not racist. But after Dean Domino, I am open-minded. Alright, let's get him back to Elijah. We have a casino to rob. Fucking color frequencies. Alright, I put it off for long enough. We gotta talk about the difficulty. Because it is a contentious topic in the community, and pretty much everyone seems to have something negative to say. And quite frankly, I'm sick of you people bitching. One moment the DLC is too punishing, then the next it's too tedious. Then it's, well, everything's cool, but the colors make me want to do a cool trick with my legs. Hands free. And in the air. Listen, I know your guys' ovaries are aching because of this DLC, so allow me to alleviate some of that pain. With a special little guide I've put together, all for the purpose of tossing a bucket of cold water on you piping hot bitches. Because I love you guys. Shut the fuck up. Now, without any further ado, the Sierra Madre Survival Guide. It's mid-max time, fellas. Pay attention. If countless deaths have taught me anything in the Madre, it's this. Dead money is only as hard as you make it. Now before you guys start calling me slurs in the comments, let me explain. Not everything has to be a race. You're not on a time limit. Look before you walk. That's how you get loot. That's how you make it easy. One of the biggest critiques about Dead Money's gameplay is that it gives the player very little in terms of resources and ways to get by in the villa. Which is funny, because I actually think the complete opposite. People say there's no good weapons to get a hold of easily. There's literally a 308 machine gun within the first 4 minutes of starting the DLC. Do you know how big a 308 is? And it's not even that hard to find. It's like 30 steps away from Elijah's hologram. This isn't even a skill issue. These guys just aren't paying attention. So, when you're struggling, remember these wise words. Just slow down and take a look around. Because all of a sudden, you'll start finding things like this really good sledgehammer and a shortcut between hotspots in the villa. How many of you guys have actually unlocked this service tunnel? I guarantee over half of you probably didn't even know about its existence. Well, now you do. Keep an eye out for that foreman key next playthrough. Now let's talk about chems, drinks, and all the various ways to get churnt in the villa. If you can stomach talking to day one cocksucker Dean Domino for a couple minutes, you can actually get a pretty good recipe off of him. The Sierra Madre Martini. Ah, very good. Now we're just missing the Domino specialty. Rohypnol. Unfortunately, that's locked off for males. Female gamers are always one step ahead. This recipe will net you a very powerful drink that will boost your endurance and strength by quite a bit. It can give you the edge you'll need for fighting off ghosts and hauling items back to your stashes. Down it quick, but not too quick, or else you're gonna wake up with your dick in the mud. Concrete? Rubble. Ghost people. Christine. Pay attention to that gift shop to the east of the villa, by the way. Down the right from Elijah's hologram. This is where you'll sell off all of your loot for pre-war money, and you can use that pre-war money to buy a couple stim packs when they restock. But what you'll really need to keep an eye out for is Sierra Madre chips. You can use these for the vending machines to get food, water, and if you have the special codes for it, hard drugs, which includes but is not limited to stem packs, mentats, and Med-X, especially Med-X. You'll fucking never run out of those. Vera Keys' crippling addiction may have been bad for her, but by God, it will not be bad for you. You can farm Sierra chips by returning specific items, like cigarette packs, cigarette cartons, and pre-war clothing, along with some other unique items if you can find return codes for them. Usually, the easiest way to Sierra riches is exploiting the cigarette economy, but I'm not returning these things. You see this shit? These are Big Boss cigarettes, premium stuff. This is what you smoke after a traumatic, mind-altering explosion happens right in front of you. But me aside, I'm sure this will be an easy grind for the rest of you. Just keep your eyes peeled, your sails thick, and you'll be wearing that Sierra yarmulke in no time. Keep on rocking in the not-so-free world, friends. I'm gonna go and stack these chips like junk food. Everyone's here, right where he wants us. During the briefing, Elijah said something that really stood out to me.
Use your team as I use you.
Like captor, like captive. Elijah uses us to break into the Madre, and we use the others to escape it. Let's hope it stays that way. Our job now is to set off the Gala Event, which was supposed to be an event of music, fireworks, and pretty light shows to open up the casino. This happened once, but thanks to the bombs dropping, it was prematurely cut and sealed the casino for 200 years, leaving behind an emergency broadcast to let anyone outside know that the Madre was in danger. Which may confuse you, like it did me, because the Sierra Madre signal you get, the one that brought us here in the first place, didn't sound like an emergency at all. Quite the opposite. It was calm and inviting. And if you talk to Dean, there's actually an explanation for that. A pretty haunting one. You see, the Sierra Madre's construction was kind of a disaster, as you already know. A lot of corners were cut, primarily in the villa. This was attributed to Mr. Yesterday, who chose cheaper options for constructing the villa and stored the rest of the budget money into his personal accounts. This resulted in disasters with the infrastructure, deleted medical logs from a patio collapse, and a really cheap broadcast system. There were two radio signals, the Sierra Madre invitation for the gala opening and the emergency broadcast. The problem was, these two were linked together. So, since the bombs dropped right on the same day as the gala event, the broadcast got confused, and instead of sending the emergency signal, it sent out the Sierra Madre invitation. So while people were getting turned to charred corpses and molten substance, you had Vera Keys' voice beckoning everyone to begin again. On the literal brink of human extinction. That is painfully poetic and also very terrifying. At least we now know that the end of humanity has a theme song. Alright, enough chit chat. Time to see what the Madre's guts look like. Elijah said use the gain to our advantage, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Look at us, tossing these idiots around like we're some big shot. First up is Dog, who we got to lead to this gated area where he can man the switching station, which is how we'll set off the Gala. Now, obviously, Dog wouldn't have the know-how required to operate this thing, so this is more of a job for God. And after the usual loop of yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes, he'll do as we say. Reluctantly. Which is fine by me. There's a casino up there, and I want in it. I got some gambling to do.
Last time I ever deal with human trash.
Next in line is our favorite mute, Christine. She has to reroute the villa's power, and she's the only one with the technical know-how to pull it off. She's arguably the most important piece in this scenario. But now that we have some downtime with Christine, I wouldn't pass up the chance to ask her some personal questions. We already got the idea that she was sent here to kill Elijah. But for what reason? Oh, I almost forgot. Christine? Hold this for me. Atta girl. Thank you. Now, where were we? Christine is a BOS scribe, and presumably worked under the same Mojave chapter that Elijah controlled. But after he went crazy and disappeared, the chapter wanted justice. Christine was sent out on a mission to kill Elijah, which was convenient for her because she already had a personal vendetta against the guy. Elijah drove her away from someone close to her, since it turns out, Christine was actually in a relationship. We were this close. We were so close. God damn it. Now I'm gonna have to go back to Cass instead with her long, luxurious hair and her audible voice. Man, I hate this bitch! Digging deeper into this, you find out that she was in a relationship with someone named Veronica. The bum? The one at 188? Stop and Shop? I love that place. I go there all the time. The grilled mantis is something to behold. Hey, say what you want about Veronica, but she has taste. Well, I guess brutally murdering Elijah can be the one thing that'll unite us. But as it turns out, she's scared of elevators, or anything with enclosed spaces, thanks to the auto dock. Which is unfortunate, because that's kinda where she needs to be. That's alright, I'll just go with her and... There we go. Simple as that, gentlemen. Alright, listen, I already know what these guys are gonna do. They're gonna disavow my actions and call me a monster, yada yada. Getting on their piss-stained soapbox and preaching, oh, I just have basic empathy. No, you're just basically dumb as shit. This DLC is really turning me into something else. I don't know if I necessarily like it, but it is entertaining. Speaking of entertainment, Dean Domino is next up. Oh, I am going to enjoy this one. Dean gets the simplest job out of the three, and he absolutely fucking hates it. Elijah basically destroys the guy's ego by saying, yeah, Christine can hack the complex terminals, Dog can handle the methodical process of switching the Gala, and Dean, he can like hold the wires or whatever. I don't like Elijah, but the man has a beautiful way of belittling people. He has a history of it, in fact. However, Dean isn't willing to budge thanks to the very unsurprising revelation and/or twist of him being a fucking pussy.
Hunting. Killing. More vicious than music critics, trust me.
Yeah. I don't know about that one. Well, anyway, after threatening to break Dean's legs...
You wouldn't. No, yeah, you would. I would.
We leave him there and proceed to do our own objective, which is sneaking past hordes of ghosts, failing to do so, losing our mind, wishing death on Chris Avalone, making our way up to the villa's bell tower, and mashing our fucking hands on the control panel until we finally... Open the Madre's legs, we're in business. Alright, time to see what all the hubbub's about. I've been waiting a long time for... Oh, son of a bitch, not again! Pre-war emptiness, wrapping me like a blanket. It's good to be home.
You
inside.
And the moment's
Can you
ruined.
hear me?
No, I can't. We get a call from Elijah telling us that we need to take care of the other 3 callers, since they're disrupting some of the Madre's systems, which will stop us from getting to the Madre's treasure. This treasure is something we see hinted at through different terminal entries, describing the casino as a golden trap. It was already pretty apparent that Sinclair was obsessed with the casino, but here, it seems to run even deeper. This wasn't just a rich man's retreat for vice and pleasure. It was built to protect something, and I guess that's what Elijah's trying to get his hands on. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm dug in. If Elijah's willing to put me through this entire autistic journey just to get a piece of treasure, then that means I need to get a hold of it before he does. And the only thing stopping us right now is the band of misfits we put together. So, I suppose we better settle this.
To make casino burn.
Our favorite FEV reject seems to be having a severe mental break. The poor guy is battling with his inner demons. Literally. Alright, I guess let's try and get him out of this mess.
Master. No, not Master.
Pay attention, people, because the word of the day is master.
Master!
I'm not going to recap the events of 1997's Fallout, but I'm sure you guys know about the Master, the super mutant's genesis. Dog was a loyal servant of the Master, but after a certain asshole passed a couple skill checks and offed him, Dog went insane, which I assume is when the 2 personalities were created. Something about Elijah awakens that same feeling of servitude, which is why Dog is so drawn to him. I assume this is because the Master was pretty stationary as a leader and mostly gave orders from afar or through different forms of communication, very similar to Elijah. Unfortunately for us, all of that infatuation dies here, because Dog plans to kill the controlling voice inside of his head by an explosive suicide. Well, there's no need for that, but maybe we can use him in the fight. Remember all the good times when I took you out of that
Dog
cave?
needs to burn it out.
Me and Dog are chill like that. We could just light one up right next to these gas fumes. I'm joking, of course. That'd be stupid. Oh, wait, Dog, hold on. Dog! Dog! One caller down, and 2 more to go. Next up is Christine. That's right, our favorite mutant.
No, it's you. Even better. This is Christine.
Never mind, she got her voice back. Or someone's voice. She sounds familiar, actually. I'd be eager to find out more about this if it wasn't for everything. This shit is absolute torture. Trying to fight something that phases through bullets with no immediate way to deactivate them is somehow harder than it sounds. It doesn't help that these Vera Keys holograms come with a special little recording of her having a panic attack for some reason. Is this what Elijah's after? Technology that can just kill you with the wrong look? This place is starting to look less like a casino and more like a circle of hell. But regardless, if you have the sharp autism needed to bypass all of this, you can make it to Vera Keys' master bedroom, where you'll find our gal.
Good. I'm getting tired of waiting for you.
Who is very angry with us. On second thought, Christine, I don't think this is gonna work out. It's like ever since you got your voice back, you've just been really mean to me.
Thought you'd leave me in that elevator? I haven't forgotten what you did in the switching station, not for a second.
Oh. Yeah. She actually didn't forget about the elevator. And how I talked to her. Huh. I'm really used to games letting me get away with that sort of thing. There's some skill checks you can pass, but in terms of a peaceful resolution, she's not having it. And you know what? I can't blame her. I'm a horrible person. But I'm also very good at being a horrible person. Remember that C4 I gave her? Ah, checkmate, bitch. Holy shit. Maybe I was too harsh on her. Well, don't worry, because I saved the best of the worst for dead last, right where he belongs. Dean Domino. The Pendulum Man. I'm about to show you guys why I dump charisma every playthrough. We lure Dean out in the Tampico Theater, and it seems he's got the area locked down pretty tight, with holograms and dead signals sweeping the area. The guy seems pretty sure of himself, even giving us the chance to stroke his ego a bit. But Dean, the bumbling fucking buffoon that he is, accidentally gives us an entire step-by-step guide on how to bypass all of the security and get to what we're looking for, which is backstage. With him. So, after breaking into his room, we managed to disable all of the security through the insertion of Dean Domino's hit single, I Saw Her Yesterday. We're also able to confront Dean about what we found in his safe, which is blackmail against Vera Keys. This, my friends, is where the plot thickens.
Dean, I didn't hear you come in.
You sing like a bird, pop the safe, and we're as through can be.
Dean had a heist planned for the Madre all this time. Before us, before Elijah, before the bombs even dropped, and Vera Keyes, the Madre's poster child, she was in on it. He would be the one to introduce her to Sinclair, and he would encourage Vera to seduce the man, and it worked wonders. Sinclair would fall for Vera, and the villa, this whole casino, it was built for her. It was designed around her. She wasn't a high-value guest or star for the Madre like many first assume. She was the Madre. All because Sinclair got soft in the chest and convinced himself that he found his soulmate. But Sinclair's love would simply be a stepping stone for another's gain. And now for the punchline I've been building up to for 20 minutes.
This isn't a normal heist. This is a cucking for the centuries. The cucking.
This is the most fucked up love story I've ever heard.
I'll send you back to the farm, worse off than you were, because you'll have seen the Sierra Madre and had to let it all go.
Vera was a lost cause, and within that, Dean saw a golden opportunity. That's why he enabled her addiction, to keep her drugged up and easy to control through evidence of her chem abuse. This all leads me to my final statement. Dean Domino is Mr. Yesterday. Now, I should preface this by saying that it isn't factual, and that this is technically a fan theory, but, I mean, come on. I feel stupid just bringing it up. It's so obvious. Dean from the get-go knew way too much about the Madre, even for someone who was invited to it. He knows about the vending machines, where the money spent for them goes, how the broadcast systems were set up, the auto docks. This isn't something a random B-list fuck-up would know about, and Mr. Yesterday's methods sounded completely in line with what Dean would do. Even down to how he talked, he sounded like Dean Domino. Ace in the hole? Who else talks like that? Not me, not you. I don't even think Benny says that dumbass shit. And probably the most on-the-nose clue is the name. Mr. Yesterday. Dean Domino, I saw her yesterday. Anyone? Can I get an amen here? And finally, to wrap it all up, his issue with Sinclair, the whole reason why he's been doing this heist, and why he abused Vera to make it happen? Sinclair was too confident and self-assured. That's it. Sinclair, despite his many business failures, always kept a level head and aimed for a better future. In fact, that's kinda what the Sierra Madre was based on. He was a very ambitious and positive person. Sinclair's mere presence was a blow to Domino's ego.
Begin again? Some things you don't get up from.
Poorly written character or a really hateable piece of shit. Call it. Look, I'll be the first to say, this run was pretty brutal. Dog's mental state is shattered and he is constantly taken advantage of because of it. And Christine is a good person who just got dealt really bad cards. Under any other circumstances, I would have saved the team. But not Dean, because Dean is such a detestable, sneering, backstabbing shithead of a character that it feels good to just do the motherfucker in every time, even if it means not getting the best outcome. Every character has their own form of greed that manifests in dead money, whether it be a thirst for vengeance, control, or power. The source of my greed stems from my unyielding, selfish hatred for Dean Domino. Dean must die. No exceptions. Oh, and speaking of Christine, wonder what that whole voice situation was about? Well, he drops this bombshell on us.
I put her in the clinic, tuned her like an instrument.
Ah, just when you started to like him, huh? Oh well, this one is for you, baby girl. But mostly for me. But the ever-charming Dean Domino, in his depthless pockets of trickery, has one last ace in the hole. Royal flush, you son of a bitch. Let's get the hell out of here, before this music makes me turn the gun on myself instead.
Oh, shh, don't cry. He trusts you, Vera. And so do I.
No Elijah in sight, and here is where riches lie. Not really impressed so far. I was expecting to see some sex bots or hologram hookers. Wait, is that a gold bar? Value of 10,000? Boys, we are officially scamming the mansion. What? Oh no, fuck! We just trapped ourselves. The rewards of greed, huh? You know what? On second thought, I'd take it back. These gold bars look like shit. Oh well. At least I'll get my own custom hologram. Just like Vera Keyes. Here is Sinclair's terminal, containing 2 major entries. The climax of the Madre's pre- to post-war story. So, what do we got here? Well, one is a big fuck you to Dean, and the other is something for Vera's eyes only. A final message from the man who loved her dearly. Frederick Sinclair. All wrapped up in a nice bow with some medics on the side. How romantic. Well, at least we'll have a nice wholesome story to keep us comfortable while we, die. Sinclair designed the systems to accommodate Vera at every turn. This wasn't just a cosmetic thing. She had almost as much access to the casino as Sinclair did. Her voice alone was the Madre skeleton key, and Dean would use Vera to open the vault and plunder the Sierra Madre's treasures out of sheer spite. But unbeknownst to both Dean and Vera, Frederick knew everything. He would uncover the duo's scheme sometime into the casino's construction. At first, he was angry. He turned the place into the death trap that it is now. Originally for Dean, and maybe even Vera if you find the extracted holotape. But that would change. The night before the bombs dropped, Vera broke down and confessed her scheme to Sinclair, unaware of his pre-existing knowledge about the heist. He was still furious, but his anger was redirected towards Dean, because he knew about the situation Vera was in, that no one else knew. Not even the starlet herself. Vera had a terminal illness, and she used Med-X and Super Stem Packs to numb the pain from it. Her addiction was very much real, but it didn't stem from degeneracy or vice like Dean thought. She was sick. She was dying. Vera was a beautiful star and a broken woman, harboring a lot of physical and mental pain. But it didn't matter what the truth was. The accusation still would have been enough to destroy her in the eyes of the public, so trying to make sense of any of it would have been pointless. Sinclair would be the only one to find out about this, and he would take it with him. On October 2077, the bombs would drop. The broadcast was sent out, and the doors were hermetically sealed, with the rest forced to fend for themselves in the villa, where it was safest. Because inside, panic ensued. The guests were breaking furniture, clawing at the walls, banging at the doors, anything they could do to get out. This chaos would initiate the security protocols, the holograms would activate, and begin slaughtering all of the guests inside. From the casino lobby, all the way to Vera's bedroom, where she was trapped inside, forced to listen to the massacre taking place.
Sinclair, I'm trapped. Please. Oh God, the security systems won't let me out. They're keeping me here. I can hear the other guests screaming to be let out, to let go.
Sinclair tried to revert the casino back to its original purpose, but it would all be in vain. The protocols were already set in place. It was perfect. Impenetrable. Sinclair, in one last desperate attempt, would try to work on the piping system to revert his design. But an explosion of toxic cloud would burst out and overwhelm him almost instantly, where he would then collapse. His final message to Vera would go unread. Sinclair was dead, along with everyone else. The Madre was quiet, and the songs were muffled to a ringing silence. She was alone in that casino, trapped inside with her guilt, regrets, and pain. There were always legends of the Sierra Madre's treasures. Many theorized, but they were all wrong. The Sierra Madre's treasure wasn't the money, the food, or the weapons, or even the technology. It was her. And now she will be forever trapped in that time capsule, never letting her go. The holograms will echo her sentiments across the Madre, and her overdose inside of her room. And that is how she died. Oh, look who it is. A real late bloomer, aren't you? Now that our job is officially done and we're officially depressed, we can ask Elijah some questions, which is where we finally uncover his true goals and why he came to the Sierra Madre in the first place.
Once I unlock its archives, I can carve the Mojave into any shape I choose.
Elijah's goals are authoritarian in nature, consisting of weapons, a unique currency, more explosive collars for compliance, and of course, security holograms. The great thing about Dead Money is that you believe the vision Elijah paints for you because you've experienced it firsthand. You know how dangerous the holograms are. They single-handedly slaughtered the casino's entire guest log. And you. And even the ghosts. Meanwhile, Dean's in the back saying some dumb shit like, more vicious than music critics. Man, shut your bitch ass up! Putting something like that out on the battlefield, you might as well be shooting at air. And that's saying nothing of the vending machines, which seem to produce just about anything. This isn't just about the Brotherhood anymore. Humanity has been stuck in the dark for over 200 years, and he believes it's long overdue for a reset. That's what Elijah wants, a clean slate. To begin again, and he will use the cloud to fulfill that prophecy and build his own nation. Elijah was always described as a nutter, but here, you finally get to see just how insane the man truly is. It's very ambitious. I'd respect it if I didn't have this collar on. Speaking of which, I'm done talking. We have a score to settle. But unfortunately, Elijah isn't too keen on coming down. Being this close to the vault while also being even closer to losing it all puts the guy on edge. You know what? Fuck this shit. Boys, get out the duffel bag. Take everything.
I've had enough of others stealing from me.
Let go. Let go of what? Welfare benefits? Look at us, robbing the bank. We're like Dean Domino. The only difference is we... shit. Oh, we're not dead. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
What's this?
Sorry, buddy. No blood pressure pills for you. Ah, very nice.
Where's the door? Can't find the door.
One more for old time's sake. And that, my friends, is how you survive the Sierra Madre.
When you die, I'll be waiting here. The Sierra Madre. Waiting.
And that's it. We made it out. We're the only one that did. Somehow, it feels even emptier than when we first came here. Just the sound of a nuclear siren repeating itself. The last sound of the old world echoing throughout the streets of a dead city. There's nothing. No howls from ghost people, no static, no creaking buildings, no radio transmissions. Just deafening silence. Congratulations! You beat Dead Money. Huh? What? How do you feel? Wonderful, I bet. You got all you came for. Money, booze, weapons, cutting-edge tech. You had to lose some people along the way, but you do that all the time in the wasteland. What's the difference here? You enjoy those spoils, champ. You deserve it. Very good DLC. It's not for everyone. The enemy variety is pretty shit. Babysitting your companion sucks. The AI sucks. Everything sucks, but if you can get past all of those cons, it might just stand out to you as one of the best pieces of Fallout content you could experience. I personally enjoyed the linear survival horror type gameplay that everyone seemed to despise, but if you ask me, the story alone makes it worth it. At least once. The themes are pretty surface level and generic, but the way it's written and the number of metaphors it spins out of it is S-tier stuff. I'm gonna say it. The writing hasn't been this sharp since Fallout 1. And I would say I mean that with all of my heart, but Dead Money took that away from me and scattered it across the Sierra Madre with all of the bear traps. and tripwire explosives. Fuck these ghost seekers. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did playing it. It's one of the best depictions of greed I have ever seen in media, and the atmosphere that permeates it is unforgettable. You will enter that land of treasure with nothing in your palms, and no matter how much you grab inside of it, it will still leave you just as empty. I've heard of the Sierra Madre Casino. We all have. But you're the only one who will know the truth behind the legend. And you will take that with you, wherever you roam. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening, and good night.
Wait a moment. Before you go, we hope you've enjoyed your stay. Farewells can be a time of sadness. Letting go, difficult. As a guest of the Sierra Madre, you know that truth more than anyone. Frederick Sinclair believed one's life could be made anew every day, that fortunes were more than the wealth in your hands. Love, life, family, those to care for, and those who will care for you. To those who know these joys, the Sierra Madre holds little they don't already have. Out in the world, beyond these walls, that is your chance to begin again. I hope you'll return in happier times. Until then, the Sierra Madre and I will hold you in our hearts.
Vertraue mir.